I'm going to talk about bottle conditioning, then Dan's going to talk about how you bottle from a keg. So I'm known more for bottle conditioning, mostly because of the styles that I brew, but we'll get into that. So, breakdown of the talk. We're going to talk about styles, what equipment you need, how you do it, and then how you wait until it's done. So, what styles should you bottle condition? You can bottle condition anything, but there are certain styles that really beg to be bottle conditioned. Those are ones that require much higher CO2, and ones that you kind of want more of that yeast character in the beer. So we're thinking really Belgian beers, we're thinking German wheat beers, and I've actually had really good success with American IPAs because you can kick off that re-fermentation and actually strip diacetyl back out. So I've been able to fix hop creep with bottle conditioned IPAs. Use at your own discretion.
What's hop creep?
Hop creep is a more modern phenomenon due to less kilned hops actually re-kicking off fermentation, and because you wind up with a secondary fermentation after dry hopping, you actually reintroduce the precursor to diacetyl, so you wind up with diacetyl in your finished beer. How do you clean up diacetyl? Mark.
How do you clean it up?
Yeah.
Diacetyl rest.
Yeah, there we go. So, getting yeast to basically go through another fermentation cycle, reconsume that, and then rest out will pull the diacetyl out of your beer. Hence, bottle conditioning classical IPAs has worked for me.
Worth saying, both diacetyl and acetaldehyde are one of the steps in making alcohol. So when yeast takes glucose or fructose, maltose, all of the above, and converts it to alcohol, one byproduct is diacetyl, one byproduct is acetaldehyde, then it breaks them down further to alcohol. So if you have active yeast that are still in there, they can help clean up those flaws.
You could also use ACDL enzyme, or there are the omega ones that don't produce diacetyl.
Yep. All right, what do you need to bottle condition your beer? You don't need much. You need sugar, you need a way to get the beer into bottles, and you need to seal the bottles. Nice. That's it. There are a couple different tiers of gear you can use, but all of them work.
You want to talk about what specifically you use?
We'll get there. So, budget end of the setup. Everybody starts with this. You get a 6-gallon bottling bucket with a spigot. You get some silicone tubing and a bottling wand and bottles and caps. You boil your sugar, you put it into the bucket, you put your wort in the bucket, then you run it into the beer bottles, cap them. It's cheap, it works really well. One of the major downsides of a bottling bucket is sanitization is a pain and eventually borderline impossible. As you start to get scratches in plastic, you can pretty much never actually clean it. Some of the worst infections I have ever gotten have come from my bottling bucket. Please replace them with some frequency if you go that route. They're not expensive. Once a year is probably safe. Every other year is okay. Run at your own risk.
And those plastic spigots are
Devious.
loaded.
They're gross.
They're also dirt cheap to replace.
Yes. Things with right angles. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really rough.
Slightly higher level of equipment, you can bottle condition out of glass, which is what I do now since ruining several batches of beer out of a bottling bucket. Use a glass carboy. They're really easy to sanitize. You can buy a stainless steel auto siphon. There's a link in here. I will post these slides later to Discord. The great thing about it is it's stainless steel and silicone. You toss it in your oven. You cook it. Everything's dead. It's a really easy thing to sanitize.
Some bugs can survive.
You're being very pedantic and I appreciate it. Everything is pretty much dead.
Quietly.
Helpful, very helpful.
Very easy to clean, works very well. It is much more expensive than the bottling bucket. But it kind of comes off, and when you start ruining batches of beer, you are more inclined to spend money to fix the problem. Another thing
Can we just jump much cheaper than bottle? Somewhere in between these two is a plastic auto siphon, which works perfectly well. You can replace it once a year. for about 10 years before you go and buy your stainless steel one. But avoiding the plastic spigot is always a good thing. So you can reduce a lot of areas for infection just by going to a plastic autosiphon.
I think also noting a fail point, right? Which could be gaskets, right? You might have a stainless steel thing, but you have a rubber gasket, right? Just so noting where that fail point of infection can be. And that's one important thing to realize.
The nice with this one is it's all silicone, they just go into it.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, so, I mean, PBW doesn't take care of this, potential problem with plastic scratches and.
So PBW cleans, and it will only clean what it can get to, and as you get a scratched surface, it is harder and harder to get into that surface to actually clean. So you don't actually wind up with the PBW getting in enough contact with things layered and built up in that scratch.
So then the question would be, but then beer gets in there and pulls that bacteria out, or whatever the infectious agent is, but PBW can't get in, but the beer can? Just asking.
I've had wildly infected beers.
After you keep it on.
You have to remember you're dealing with things on a microbial level. That scratch that looks like, oh, that's just a nice clean scratch, actually looks like the surface of the moon to a microbe. There's thousands of little tiny places it crawls into, and all it takes is one microbe that decides to hop off into your beer and starts reproducing, and all of a sudden you have an infection. All it takes is literally one.
And not only one, you just gave it the most amazing thing it could eat, which is just pure sugar.
That's
So
right.
Yeah, she did it.
But the one goes into one bottle,
Yeah.
which of course is a problem, but it doesn't ruin the entire batch. If that one actually does get out and get into your bottle. Just, you know.
Yep.
But the question becomes, is the risk worth the reward?
Like I said, if you have no issues, keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
I've won-
I'm always
Yep.
thinking about less plastic in the waste
In the
stream.
world.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Agreed.
I would say the exact same problem applies to your fermenter. If you're if you're brewing in buckets, which is fine, that's how I started. Those scratches, I guess my mental model is less the beer can get at it and more.
Well, that's a different than the bottling thing.
Oh, that's true.
Where you're sitting for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's completely.
But my mental model is more the microbes can get what they want, right? When they have something that's attaching them, those biofilms, like the top layer dies and the rest of them hold on, as opposed to their sugar, go. So,
You said it's different. It's really not. It's a fermentation, right? It's a nice, healthy.
Well, it's different in
environment.
how long the beer is sitting in there. I mean, it's 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 weeks versus an hour.
but to your argument, I've also seen people like 2 bottles, an A and a B bottle in a competition, and one being horribly infected and one not.
Yeah.
So your comment about it getting into one bottle, screw you.
Bad luck.
If that's the A bottle, then your competition, you're getting a 20 when you could have had a 40, you know?
You mean 2 bottles of the same beer? One
Yeah.
infected.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that one bug got into that one
Depending
bottle.
on the,
Yeah.
right, how much was in
Or they
each.
didn't clean their bottles.
Uneven.
Could have been the bottle being not cleaned well is also.
All of this being said, I have won a lot of competitions using said plastic spigot in a bottling bucket.
Yes.
Do what works for you. As you hit infections, know where to look for them.
Yep.
Talking about bottles.
Just a quick step on the intermediate.
Yes.
It's like, once you have 20 kegs in a CO2 tank, you think you're like, I'm gonna just keg beer from now on. But a corny keg and CO2 is fantastic as an alternative to a bottling bucket. I started doing that a long time ago as a way to not have to use gravity and siphon and all that stuff. Bottling sugar goes into the corny keg, and then, man, it's so easy. You know, just no gravity, no, yeah.
Only number beer.
Yep. I've also done that, but I left it out because I was gonna let Dan talk about right in front of kegs, but yes, that does work great. All right, talking about bottles. What you're doing when you're bottle conditioning is you are making a pressure vessel. If you are using long necks to ferment Belgian beers and you run them all the way up to 5 volumes of CO2, you now have a hand grenade. Glass only fails catastrophically. It will look fine until it explodes. Use high pressure bottles for your high pressure beers. If you're doing an American Amber or an IPA, long necks are great. If you're doing Belgians or German wheats, get high pressure bottles. He's not here. We have a MASH member that at one point posted a picture of a neck of a bottle through his drywall ceiling. Embedded.
Oh,
It is scary.
My
catastrophic.
question is why you're not using that picture.
I couldn't find it.
No, I think that was before we moved to Discord.
It was.
We
It
lost
was in Slack, and you lose it after 90 days.
It's also a whole plot point in Breaking Bad.
True. If you have questions about bottles, ping me in Discord. There are several different ones you can use. They all come with some sort of pressure rating.
And by the way, don't use this information for evil.
Nice.
All right, some other things you can use. If you're just doing a few bottles, you can get these carbonation drops. They work decently. If you're pulling 3 off a fermenter, it's fine. Give it a shot.
For those who have used these, like, when you put corn sugar in water and you put it into your bottling vessel, it's already dissolved and it's available. Have you found that the carbonation takes longer because there's like a dissolve time? Like,
I haven't noticed a difference. It goes pretty quick.
does it? Okay.
I didn't notice the difference to waiting 2
You're
weeks
waiting
anyways,
2 to
right?
3
So
weeks.
it's
Well,
6
I was thinking
They say
what if it
one-
took 5 days to dissolve.
No,
One-
It doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, they say 1 for like a 12 ounce and then 2 for a 22 ounce.
Or if you get
like,
the
no
big-
way,
yeah,
like,
they come in different sizes.
yeah, but it's what it says on the package. I've had bottled catastrophic.
They do dissolve.
Like always under what they say.
They dissolve real quick.
I was gonna ask, do you know if you follow the directions, how many, like what PSI, like how many volumes of
I
CO2?
don't. When I've used them, I've written down how many I've used, and so I've done a saison where I want these 3 bottles are with 5, these 3 bottles are with 7, these 3 bottles are with 9, because I'm trying to run a saison really high.
Wow.
And then you can.
But those are with your hefty Belgian bottles.
This one has 4, in case you want.
Okay. For carbonation.
Yeah, but like the
little
the
carbonation
mini ones, not the big
Not
ones.
Aspirins, right?
They look,
They
yeah,
make them
they're
like aspirins and
yeah,
then some, they make like cough drops.
They're not the cough drop ones.
Yeah.
That's the cough drop one.
The
Yeah.
only reason I would say use this is if you're pulling straight from a fermenter and you're being really lazy. Like, this is the absolute bare minimum to get a beer bottle conditioned for a competition. It's not the best path, but it works.
I mean,
But it eliminates
honestly-
the bottling bucket.
It does.
Yeah, one less best point filling.
But you also now need to
Honestly,
sanitize
pour
whatever you're
table
pouring.
sugar into a bottle.
Yep.
It's literally that simple. Just
But
use
it's
the
like
right-
candy sugar. It's like almost like Belgian refined.
No, I think it's dextrose with like some like corn starch or something to cake it.
I will caveat, I have placed with every technique labeled in this slide deck. You can win with any of these.
Sick.
Another thing, I guess I don't have a slide on it, DIY bottle conditioning chamber. If you want to speed up your bottle conditioning, you can heat up the bottles a lot. Omegang, I couldn't find their post, but years ago, thank you, sir. I read a post from Omegang that they have a dedicated room that they keep between 75 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit for bottle conditioning. It is really easy to fake that as a home brewer. Take a cooler, take a heating pad, take an Inkbird temperature control. You can just put your bottles in there, turn it on, and it will heat and maintain that temperature inside the cooler. Works really well.
Style-wise, do you think that's gonna give you some esters and things that you don't want for like Belgian beers?
I have only done it with Belgian and German wheat beers.
Okay.
So again, pick your styles strategically.
Maybe that's an idea for a match lab, Brian.
There we go.
Get to work.
All right, so it's time to bottle. You're gonna bottle some beer now. Honest to God, the only thing that matters is sanitation. Please clean everything. That means use PBW. Get a basin there. Clean all the organic material out.
You cannot sanitize what is not clean.
Then rinse with hot water, hotter than what your PBW was in. Water. Rinse all that crap back out. Then go in with your acid. Now you're sanitizing. Use Star San. Get in there, clean, sanitize everything out. This is your bottling bucket. This is your bottles. This is the tubing. This is everything the beer comes in contact with. Yes, Steve.
What about caps?
Caps, I typically dip in sanitizer right before I seal. A lot of caps are now, they have an oxygen absorption layer that is triggered by being damp. So you don't want to soak them, you don't want to leave them too long, but a quick dip into Star San and then seal them.
It also degrades over time.
Yeah.
So for that layer that's moisture activated, steaming them in like a vegetable steamer, is that like too much, you think?
Oh, that would also, yeah.
That's like.
Plus you might also melt,
Yeah.
like the,
Oh, I did that for years.
okay. I don't actually know what is in the ring
Yeah, I don't know
at the
what
top
it is
of
either.
bottle caps. Yeah.
It's relatively recent that all the caps you buy are oxygen.
Have that, okay.
Yeah, they
It's a really
they
helpful
weren't used to
tip.
be all that way.
It also degrades pretty quickly, I think, like a year.
Yeah. All right, I've had lots of people ask me about how much sugar do I use. I just use the calculator. You open up this calculator, you plug in what beer style am I doing, what CO2 am I targeting, what temperature is the beer at. So it assumes how much dissolved CO2 is already in there. I've never had an issue using the calculator. So just match the sugar it puts out, boil that in a bit of water.
So the question then becomes, how do you know what volume of CO2 you want in a finished beer given?
It is all on the bottom of the calculator. If you scroll down, it gives you every beer style and a range of CO2 volumes for that style.
Which is your preferred calculator?
I like Brewer's Frank.
Which one?
Brewer's Frank, the one linked here, but I assume they're all fairly similar.
Does it depend how long your beer's been sitting there before you rack it off the? It's put, it's fermented out, it's done, but it's sat there for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks before you shot it off.
I don't think it
That
makes.
shouldn't matter as
not-
far as-
It's been there a year.
CO2 is the same that's sitting in there, it's
Yeah,
just the temperature.
I think it's relatively, yeah, the temperature controls how much actually dissolves and stays in solution.
It's temperature and pressure that that determines how much of a gas is absorbed into a liquid at any given point of temperature. So at 1 atmosphere at room temperature, it doesn't matter if it's a day, a week, or a year, the amount of CO2 and it will be effectively.
The yeast doesn't be alive. We made some like high gravity, high ABV thing that the alcohol killed all the yeast. And waited 6 months, probably not gonna get it.
And we can have the contentious talk of CBC1.
Yes.
Which I'm not a fan of.
Do you have to, is there any difference if you're using, let's say, 22 ounce or bombers, I guess, versus 12 ounce? Is there any difference in the amount of sugar?
If you're calculating for the entire 5 gallons and dissolving in, no.
Okay,
If you're doing the little drops per bottle, yes.
gotcha.
Because that's then how many drops go in each bottle, whereas here you're mixing the sugar into the entire solution
Okay.
and then distributing it. Yes, Steve?
When you're racking, are you purposely trying to pull over yeast?
No, there's really enough in solution unless you've logged it for a very long time.
Are you purposely not cold crashing?
No, I usually cold crash too.
Cold crash and then pull without trying to pull any of the yeast
Yep.
leak off the bottom?
All of that changes if you're doing a very high gravity style, in which case you probably want to reintroduce yeast.
I guess my corollary is, have you ever had a failed bottle condition where there wasn't enough yeast?
Yes, it was a Russian Imperial Stout, and I didn't repitch CBC1, and actually, even after 2 years, it did start to carbonate eventually.
You're patient man.
So that 1 pour yeast cell in the bottle had a lot of
Yeah,
work.
eventually did the leverage.
Definitely had an infection.
May not have been a yeast cell, but yes.
Yeah.
I might have been the yeast that you wanted.
Yeah, it was something, it ate the sugar. Alright, at this point, you just kind of use the bottling wand. Push it down, they're spring loaded. When you push the tip up, the beer flows in. The wand really displaces the correct amount of headspace unless you have a really chonky wand. So fill it up until it's level with the brim, pull the wand out, and cap it. This is
Don't
not
overfill. Do not do what you do with bottle conditioning your food. Yeah.
Yep, this is not filling from a keg. The oxygen in the top is actually needed for the trigger of the yeast growth and the re-fermentation, and it will strip that oxygen back out. You don't want to fill it to the lid and then not pull the wand out and leave headspace. You need a little bit of headspace in that bottle. cap the bottle. There are lots of different cappers. I watched a video Bobby put out recently. If you have a cheap capper, he recommended rotating it and capping it 3 times, making sure that you actually got a crimp. Make sure the bottle's sealed.
It's the only way to be sure.
3 times.
Best investment is the bench capper.
Yep,
Yeah.
The thing is a lifesaver.
yep.
I think I broke a bottle once using one of those.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would
yeah,
do like 2 of
yeah.
them in a day one time. So.
Question is, why did you have two of them?
I bought some
Jesus.
stuff from someone
Crimps
who
and crimps.
gave me an extra one, yeah.
As long as it's a little
I'm a much
dotted.
lighter touch.
As long as it's a little dotted, I think we're good.
So now's the really long leg with this. You wait. You're waiting for fermentation to happen again and for the beer to pressurize. Takes 2 to 3 weeks. At 2 to 3 weeks, stick one in the fridge, chill it, crack it, see if it's ready. If not, let it go longer. Once you're happy with where it is, you can chill it all down and keep it in a fridge, keep it in your basement, wherever you store your beer.
And 2 to 3 weeks, not on your concrete basement floor in the winter.
Correct. 2 to 3 weeks in your upstairs bedroom. I think I still have the double tap beer from last year in the guest bedroom. You can put it in the cooler that you have now set to 75 or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Keep it somewhere warm. You're re-encouraging fermentation. That's it.
Nicely done.
Thanks, Paul.
I was gonna ask if you've ever split batched and bottle conditioned some and kegged others, and did you get a big sensory difference? Because I know the theory of like the beers where this is supposed to be helpful for. I'm curious whether you can taste the difference if you blinded.
I don't think I've ever actually blinded. I've done some where I pull straight from the fermenter just and cheat with the bottle tabs because I have a competition coming up. And I have a tendency to bottle condition most things for a competition because way early on I got dinged for oxidation. And my gut reaction to that was to switch back to bottle conditioning things, have everything strip the oxygen out, and remove that as a factor. So I don't think I've ever actually looked carefully, but I have pulled, 6 bottles worth and just done that, and then sent those off to Coops.
Everything from the previous was bottle conditioning, where you fill the bottle, you put the sugar in, the existing yeast does the work and recarbonates your beer, or re-ferments and carbonates your beer. This one is the exact opposite. Now you have kegged your beer, it's being served on your geyser or whatever, and you have it on tap, and you're enjoying it, and you decide, hey, I want to put this beer in a contest. How do I take this already kegged, already carbonated beer and stick it in bottles so that it will be good enough to still have the correct amount of carbonation and not be completely oxidized when somebody opens up for contest. And we're going to do this as a demonstration and a hands-on, because why not? So first of all, you could get a beer gun and you could spend a lot of money on it. But I read a forum on Homebrew Talk. One of the threads on there was somebody posted, we don't need no stinking beer gun, in like 2007, and had a list of steps to build your own counter pressure bottling system. And if you don't know what that is, I'm going to exactly show you that. It is, first, get yourself a lot of tubing, and on one end, stick yourself a liquid ball lock thing, and on the other side, a cheap picnic tap with the little squeezy.
Is that length necessary? Because that's a lot of hose.
The length is necessary because you want to reduce some of the pressure. So this is about 10 feet.
And by the way, who doesn't like a lot of those?
That's what she said.
Get a racking cane, just the standard size. It's the hard plastic. And one of these little,
2.5, I think.
yeah, it might be a number 7 stopper. It moves a lot better once you've got a star sand. Right now it is dry and it doesn't want to move as much. But it's a stopper with a hole in it. I'm trying to get it to about the right length here. And here's the amazing thing. It's almost like it was made for this. It fits exactly in the picnic tap perfectly and does not leak, even under pressure. You take this and you attach it to your keg. There's about a gallon of Kolsch in here, so not only is his hands on, this is mouth on, I'm gonna get to drink this when we're done. Make sure.
Close.
Yeah, make sure that this is not on. You've done this before.
I've never had beer on the wall of the ceiling.
Remember that you're homebrew,
Well,
right?
you've had beer on both the wall and
Bruce
the
jumping up early.
No, just correctly you're saying you've never had beer on the wall or the ceiling, it's been both at every single time.
He said or, not XOR.
Before you start,
Dan,
I've got,
that line that you used for the thing, that is the thick wall, narrow diameter, like 3/16.
it's like what you would normally use in your kegerator for the liquid.
Yeah, not
3/16 ID, you could really not like heavy
Yes,
wall.
yeah, it's not like the gas tubing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so just like you were doing dispensing from that, you want it to be a nice long length so that even if you have your keg at normal dispensing pressure, like 8, 10, 12 PSI, you're not gonna get a whole bunch of foam at the end. This is an aquarium pump. I've just got a length of tubing on here that I can attach another ball lock to it. This can go into a bucket of PVW, plug it in, stick that on the end of it, and then have it go all the way right back into the bucket, turn the pump on, and you can cycle PVW through your equipment. Run that through, rinse it with regular water, and then run it through with some Star Sand. So clean and sanitize. You can run it as long as you want. I clean it before I use it, then I use it, and then, or sorry, clean and sanitize before I use it, and then clean and sanitize before I put it away. So by the time I use it the next time, it's gonna be double clean and double sanitized. So this is super easy to make. I use that for cleaning a lot of stuff. You can use that to clean jockey box and all sorts of things. Bottles, and we were just talking about the neck on the bottle. Make sure it's the thick type. These are the cheap bottles. These are the ones that don't take the high pressure. So this would be for a beer style. For example, this is a Kolsch, where you're not going into the 3s and 4s and 5 volumes of CO2. This wouldn't take it. You would use a Belgian bottle for that or something better. I like to work on a sheet pan because it's going to make a little bit of mess. Caps. I also like to have a whole lot of Star Sand ready. I have a usual container of it that I just keep a lid on so I can keep using the same stuff. So we're going to pretend I have the Star Sand here. I've got the spray bottle, but I'm not going to need that. Capper. Get all your equipment ready. Have everything all sanitized and ready to go. CO2. I also have, usually I have my big 20-pound CO2 tank. So pretend this is a big 20-pound CO2 tank, and here's the end of it. Here's another easy thing to make. Just a regular cap with some tubing on it. When you're ready to start bottling, yep. Dunk this into some Star Sand. Make sure your bottles have been dunked and rinsed. And you can stick a little gas. Okay, now it's CO2. It's not going to last that way forever. When you first start out, the tube is going to be warm. There's going to be a little foam coming through. So I put the first bunch into a glass until it starts running clear. There we go.
That's what you drink while you bottle.
It actually is.
Brewer's cheap.
I get this just a tiny bit above the bottom. You can push the cork in just a bit, but as soon as you get a little bit of liquid in there, it's going to hit resistance because of the air pressure, and if you just slowly wiggle it, you're going to be able to get enough CO2 coming out that you can get beer, and you can see the foam is staying pretty nice. And this is a keg that I drove in the car, so it's going to make a little bit of mess, but if you dribble a little bit extra into here, you're gonna be able to get some, see this has the foam about to here, so this is a little wild for the first one, but I'll cap this anyway as an example. Somebody was talking about when you have a cheap capper, it's nice to give it a turn after you cap it. I always do that anyway. Cap, turn about 90 degrees and cap again just in case it didn't get a full seal. This one is a little low, but usually the first one is about that way. This might be a little wild on CO2 levels, especially after banging around in the car. So we can assume that I hit this thing up with some CO2, but I'm not going to right now because we're gonna open this up and drink it right now anyway.
You said this is a counter pressure, but you're not.
It's counter pressure because of the fact that there's no liquid, there's no gas coming out right now. Right now, if I hold this thing in there, see, it stops filling. I've got the valve open. There's no way it fills because it's full of pressure right now. There's nowhere for the gas to escape unless I wiggle just enough, and you can hear it.
Yeah.
See, now the foam, I only have like a millimeter of foam on this. By the time you get to the second one, you get a much better fill.
Do you leave a headspace on it?
Yes, and it's more of an art. But look at this one once I get this thing capped. This one's gonna be just about perfect. Dunk in the star sand, stick on here. You know, then it goes in the sink so I can, this is right here. Perfect headspace on this guy. So contest worthy bottle right here.
Excellent. Dan, is there a specific pressure you keep the keg at when you use it?
I don't change it. A lot of people will say reduce it to 5 PSI and let some pressure out and turn your regulator to 5. I leave it at dispensing pressure and don't have any problem, unless it's one of those crazy high beers, you know, like if you had a Saison where you wanted it like 12 or 14 or something like that, then you might want to reduce it. But then one of those beers might be a candidate for bottle conditioning anyway, if you're gonna put that in. This is for every other style of beer. So this guy is just about perfect. Now, anybody that is interested in giving this a try, hands on, there's another bottle. Who wants to try?
Sure, I'll give it a shot.
And then we can open these bottles and dump them into glasses. Of course, not the same.
So Dan,
So you want the cork in and you want to make sure it's not touching the bottom, so lift the tubing if you need to.
I use the 5 foot, just a regular picking tap I regularly serve, but I use a bottling wand.
Right.
Plastic.
Right.
I took out the little, what do you call it, the stopper in there.
Yes.
Because I always had it pop out. It's almost the same effect.
Do you hit it again, or?
And you give it just a little bit of liquid in there.
Absolutely perfect.
So that one's,
Well done.
It's a little low.
yeah, and it takes practice.
What is the practice like? How you're releasing it, like slower, or you change it as you pull it up?
It's mostly in, you can kind of get a feel for how it's going based on where the foam sits as the liquid level is rising. And if it's a tiny amount of foam,
So you're kind of changing.
you're doing pretty good.
Micro changing as you.
Yeah, and you can let it go faster or slower. If it looks like there's not enough foam, you can let it go faster. You can even just like shoot a burst of beer into there to try to make more foam if you need to.
So when you're pulling the trigger, are you pulling it all the way down?
I'm pulling it all the way. But you also have to make sure you don't wait too long and let this warm back up again, because you need this cool. That's why sometimes you just need to put some into the glass to make sure everything's cool. Sometimes it helps if you start with cold bottles. Sometimes it helps if you have just star sanded, so you've got liquid in the bottle. It's kind of an art, but it doesn't take too long to get the hang of it. Does anybody else want to give this a try? We have 3 bottles and we have a lot of empty glasses. If someone wants to drink some Kolsch, we can pour these out and you guys can fill them again. I got a lot of caps. And I got a lot of beer in the keg. Anyone want to give it a try? Come on up.